Welcome behind the veil. We just wrapped up recording session 9 of Table for Two, the Shattered Veil campaign. My name is Nick Kennedy. I was the DM this evening, and with me, as always, in the player seat this time is Janna Harrison.
Yeah, still kind of dumbstruck.
Doozy of an ending.
Yeah, that was, I'm wrapping my head around that one.
So I'll admit, I hadn't really planned for things to go quite that way. Um, I mean, I'm really glad it did go that way. I'm surprised and thrilled with the role playing. You were so deeply in character as Quinn, and so reflective and contemplative, and that was really, really awesome to interact with. But really, like, caught me off guard a little bit and was unexpected. Really fitting for the story, obviously, and for the character's state of mind. Um,
Yeah.
so I was, kind of ultimately planning on all of this being optional or choice or whatever, but the I don't know, just fragile state of mind that Quinn seemed to be in made it feel like an opportunity ready for Reeve to assert themselves.
Yeah, after after session 8, when we were in the library, um, you had played Quinn like so clearly broken that I was like, that is where I need to pick that up. Like, Quinn is fragile, and like they have these like little moments where they're showing like some vulnerabilities and like these fractures are coming through. And I kind of felt like it was like Quinn is losing grip, and because they're so afraid of losing grip, they're kind of like trying to make amends with those that they held close or who they feel like they need to make amends to. So that was kind of like my thought was like after how how broke Quinn came out of the library, it made sense to pick it up where you had left.
Hmm.
Um,
Not, it was beautiful. It's like this extra layer of conflict, at least from the perspective of the DM. Because in like the last couple of sessions, I think we've been kind of hinting at, the barrier between the two identities is also getting weaker. Not just this barrier with the other planes, but the inner barrier has softened, and they are able to communicate directly with one another now, and share in the memories a little more easily and freely. Um, and they're not like, a fully self-actualized or reassembled or reassimilated being or anything necessarily, um, but they're finding some new way for kind of living with who they are and how they are. So it was honestly really hard for me to make the decision to try to like take choice back away from you and force you into one or the other. But I think it was also like that would be a difficult thing for Reeve to do, except Reeve remembers kind of their purpose, their intent, and that's what I think has always motivated them and kind of continues to motivate them. So when they feel like, okay, maybe Quinn's not up for it anymore, time for me to step back in.
yeah, and I think too that like that was Ray's purpose the entire time was when Gwen could no longer go forward, Reed would step in. So I really enjoyed like that moment where you're like, okay, this is where Reed needs to take over. Oh, this is an excellent choice. This is such great like storytelling moment. Um,
Yeah, I know I had to do it. It just felt bad.
no, I thought it was so good. I really enjoyed it because I think too, like when you are doing collaborative storytelling like this, like you really do have to lean on one another.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's hard when you have like a full table, like you feel like you're taking away like player autonomy, but when it's just the two of us, it is more of a collaborative effort. And it's,
Mm-hmm.
I give you moments where you can't take that because you need to. Like this has
Yeah.
to be something that we need a moment to drive that story forward. And
Mm-hmm.
I need to give the DM the opportunity to drive it in the direction it needs to go because right now the character that we're playing is so fragile, so broken, so just not able to move forward that they need to have that push.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is kind of an interesting like extra layer. Like just the character's mental state is like almost a mechanic of its own that we kind of have to consider while playing the game or telling the story.
Yeah. Oh, but just everything that happened at the end, I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, where did that come from? Like, that was so good.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a fun session. So I think we mentioned this in the recording, but it's been a few weeks since we recorded session 8, just because of life. So I felt a little bit like I needed to kind of like shake the cobwebs off getting back into this. Like, do I still remember how to be a DM? Can I, still role play? Blah blah blah. Um, but I think we're just so used to. I think we've gotten really comfortable with this really quickly, so it's kind of pretty easy to slip back into once I got past the writer's block and the got over the hump of awkwardness or whatever again, and everything else just seemed to flow. I felt like it really flowed for the both of us. Like I said earlier, you were so into character. Um, it didn't seem like you had to think about any of it or like it was unnatural. It was just like you were Quinn.
I tried. I think I was like so ready for it too because I was just like the collaboration. I feel like it's just so helpful because I knew where I needed to pick up and it made it very easy to slip into that role. Um, it did get really emotional though for me for a moment. I was like, oh shit, I'm about to cry. Suck it up, suck it up.
I was gonna ask, yeah, what is the effect that really being that in character has on you?
um, so I think this is the first time I've really had the opportunity to dive deep into roleplay for a character. And it kind of tapped into some emotions that were a little raw for me that I think just like that are raw as a human and trying to acknowledge like this is just part of being a person. And I think the part where I got the most emotional was when Quinn was talking about how broken they were, recognizing how flawed and selfish they are. And that just felt like something about that conversation with Marin really got to me. I was like, oh, this is really hard right now. Like it felt very vulnerable. Um, but I also think it's important because being able to be vulnerable like that, it helps you kind of move into that character and see their perspective and what their next steps are or what they're I don't want to say like what they're willing to do, but more like how they might react.
Mhm.
Um, because finally acknowledging that Quinn's motivations have been selfish, when they were descending into what are we calling it? The Hall of the Crook.
Yeah.
And say I was like, that's just kind of what it came to me in the moment. um, Gwen was like, I don't want to be selfish anymore. I don't want to be known for being selfish. I want to protect the one person who's actually treated me like a friend, which has been Marin.
Mhm.
Um, which I think too speaks to just people in general, like that desire of recognizing that you can change or you can evolve as a person. Like you're not always going to be the same person that you were. Circumstances are going to affect you in a different way. Um, and I think leaning into that makes you a better role player
Mhm.
and being willing to accept that. Um, now, Janna, the player, I have a very hard time with emotion. So it is very freeing for me to be able to like express that.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that could be a little cathartic sometimes, right? If you're able to explore emotions or situations or ideas in a very structured, safe setting, um, that you maybe wouldn't get the opportunity or time to explore those things, in everyday life. I think that can be a little like dangerous sometimes too. Like they talk about how method acting can be dangerous, right? Because if you put all of yourself into something, it can be really hard to separate yourself from that thing after you're done doing the thing. Um, and I don't think either of us by any means are like seasoned method actors or anything like that, but I think anybody, maybe even perhaps the novice more so, is at risk of kind of running into that problem. I think that's also why our format of really kind of like breaking things down and dissecting after the fact probably helps us deal with those things in a lot of ways. I know the last time that I was playing Quinn, um, I also felt really emotional about everything I was encountering. So us talking about it after the fact really helped kind of like resolve and settle those feelings for me a little bit.
Yeah. And I think that's too part of it. Like when you're at a really safe table and you're at a table where you feel comfortable and you have like someone that you have a good confidence with, you can have a dialogue after and be like, hey, that's like, ooh, it really got to me. And being able to have those conversations, it's so important because like I recently had a conversation with someone about a problematic DM. And just like they felt like they couldn't have conversations and they didn't feel safe at the table, like expressing themselves or having other players at the table and not wanting to invite that. And I was like, hey, like that should not be what it is because
Mhm.
when we come to the table, we come to role play and we come to express ourselves. It should be someplace that we feel secure with the people that we're around, and it should be someplace that we have that um, I guess that space to express ourselves and we can be vulnerable if we need to and we're going to feel supported and uplifted and not like um scared to be ourselves, I guess is the other thing because this
Yeah.
yeah um and I know it's also like a really it's always been a very big deal at any table that I'm at. Like I don't want a player feeling uncomfortable with the space that we have created, and if they are, like I want them to feel comfortable saying like, hey, this is how we can make it more comfortable or at least safer for somebody. Um, and thankfully, like I've always felt very safe at the table when I'm, at any game that you've ever run, and especially with the two of us too, I feel very safe at this game.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that too leads a lot into like the ability to feel comfortable.
Mhm. Yeah, that I mean, like, because that comes with experience and time, right? Like everyone's, I think, first foray into role play is feels awkward and feels very vulnerable, but like in a way that you're maybe not ready to be vulnerable. Um, and the more often you do it, the more comfortable, the more familiar you are with kind of putting pieces of yourself into what it is you're trying to portray and feeling okay with those pieces of yourself being exposed. But I also think it takes actually like acknowledging the process and what you're doing with the people you're doing it with to help make it a little bit more comfortable too. Like us talking about, we're being vulnerable, we're being emotional, we're putting aspects of ourselves into these characters, and we're kind of exploring these feelings that we're, familiar with, but haven't necessarily sorted through. Um, I think it helps us both understand that yes, we need to treat this with care. We need to kind of be extra attentive to being respectful to one another. Um, I don't think we ever would have had problems with any of those things. I just think that like the fact that we have taken so much time and put so much attention into kind of acknowledging the practice as we do it, I think has really made a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think too, like it's just it's so important to give that space for folks because this really is for um a lot of people like where they get to escape. And I
Hmm.
mean, I want to say this loud and clear for people, like so they know D&D is not therapy, but D&D is not therapy, but it is a good place to escape and give yourself a moment to explore feelings that maybe you don't get to typically explore.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like it empowers you to maybe take those steps in your everyday life to explore them a little more deeply. You feel comfortable, dipping the toe in here, and then you go back to your life and you're like, you know what, maybe I can have that conversation about that thing now. Um, hopefully, anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to circle back to something because you had we had touched on this. It'd been a couple weeks. You had said that you had a writer's block. How did you break through? Because I feel like that is like the biggest challenge for a lot of people when they are running games or when they are part of the tabletop community is the writer's block piece. So, what was the breakthrough moment, or how did you break through?
I think my problem was that I was feeling like everything I was coming up with for this session wasn't quite what I wanted it to be. I don't know if it was like the pressure of wanting things to be perfect or just wanting to fit a certain aspect of the story. I don't know. It might have been a combination of all of the above, honestly. But I just kept feeling like, no, that's not what I want it to be. What else can I do? No, that's not what I want it to be. What else can I do? And I think I ultimately just had to kind of like reframe. I honestly almost kind of like gave up. I was like, this is dumb. Why am I so stuck up on this? I just need to write something. Um, and that was when it kind of clicked for me. Like the things I'm getting hung up on, the details of um, what does the dungeon look like? Where does it go? How do we get there? Those parts are like important, but for our story, they're less important than the character interacting with them. And I think that was what I had forgotten was it is the life that we bring to the characters and the world that makes it important. The things that we write for you to interact with are of like no importance or value on their own, right? Like here's an encounter, here's a puzzle, here's a set piece, whatever. They mean nothing without like a character meaningfully interacting with them. So the focus has to be on the character's journey. And so I just kind of was like, okay, like get over all the stuff I'm worrying about. We just dig back into what it means to you as Quinn or to you as Reeve to encounter these things. Because we could have a meaningful interaction with you encountering a donut. Like, if we were both really into it, you know what I mean?
It's true. I mean, I do love it.
Yeah, same. Um, so I don't know that I actively did anything really to kind of, I don't have any good advice for getting over the writer's block other than I think maybe trying to remember what is important about the story you're trying to tell or who is important, and just kind of letting that be the guide, I guess.
Well, I want to key on something that you said too that like really resonated with me is you got hung up on wanting to make it perfect. And that was something like you said that and I was like, oh my God, I relate to that so much. that perfectionist tendency.
Mhm.
There is just something so difficult, I guess, pushing through a block because you are expecting like perfection of yourself, or you're always telling yourself that you can't present less than like 110%. Um, and I don't know if you recognized it, but the minute you said like once I realized I didn't need to do that, that's when I really like got through it. I was like, oh, there's your breakthrough. It was realizing you didn't have to like have a perfect moment.
Mhm. That is something I deal with kind of regularly. Because I will get, since I've been mostly a DM in my 8 years of D&D history, I can get kind of nervous and stressed out about it sometimes, and it starts to feel more like an obligation than a fun game. And I think it's just that same thing kind of rearing its head of thinking that I need to put on the perfect game or put on the perfect show or tell the perfect story. Um, and just forgetting that like it's gonna be fun no matter what. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to like be done. Not even fully done. It just has you just have to be ready and then it's fun. Like
Yeah, I think that's always one of the things that I really learned through DMing is it doesn't matter how much you prep, you always end up improvising something.
hmm
Um, and I feel like I say this all the time. Every single time we have our behind the veils, like just get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
yeah. And go with the flow. If you're in a good group, it should flow pretty well.
Mm-hmm. It's just, and I think too, that's kind of one of the foundations of storytelling, I guess, and world building is you just let things happen as they happen. You can't force it, or you can't narrate it into like this glorious moment. Like those aha big epic moments, they're going to happen at the table regardless of how you've planned it.
hmm
Um, because it's going to be about what your player's going to do with it.
And those are really their most satisfying when they happen naturally, when they come out of the story on their own, because then you're surprised by it. And like the end of our session today, I think we were both surprised by the ending, and I feel like it was more fun for the both of us because of it.
Yeah, the role playing for me this time was really fun. Like I don't know what it was. I just something finally clicked in my head, and I was like, I'm just gonna lean into it. I'm gonna see where it goes. um, totally worth it. Like loved it. Every moment was worth it. I think this is probably one of the most like role play heavy sessions we've ever done.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And that's saying a lot for us.
Yeah, but it was good. I really digged it. Yeah, that was something that I wasn't expecting, and I really did just go in today. Today's session was like just I'm going to see what happens. I'm really excited to play, and I can't wait to see what Nick has up his sleeve. Like, and like you said, I knew no matter what was going to come up, I was like, this is going to be fun. I'm excited.
Yeah, I think I felt the same way once I gave into that. Oh yeah, just have fun.
Yeah.
I'd remember that. Um, Honestly, that's probably my final thought for the night. Do you have any parting thoughts?
Oh man. Final thoughts for the night. I think it's actually like a like take care of each other. Like take care of your table. Like check in with folks. Um
Yeah, like have some more real conversations at the table too, if you can, that kind of thing.
yeah, because kind of realizing it too, like with the real like emotion that was like coming out tonight, I was like, oh, this was really heavy too.
hmm
um it was vulnerable, but it was definitely like a real emotion too that it was happening. And I'm definitely glad it happened. And it was something that I really enjoyed, but it made me go, it's like, yeah, it's important to check in with your people and just see how they're doing after. And like, hey, like that was a big one. You okay? Like,
Yeah.
do you need a moment? Like, do we need to talk about that?
Well, let me ask you before we wrap up. Are you okay? Are you going to be okay for our next session?
I'm gonna be good for our next session. Am I like nervous for it? Like in a good way? Yes, absolutely.
It worked out kind of nicely. I was a little wondering about what I ended up writing 9 and 10 at the same time. Um, and 10 was a little bit still up in the air, and I was kind of wondering what else to maybe squeeze into it. What I thought we were going to finish with tonight is getting pushed into session 10 instead. So I'm actually kind of excited it worked out that way because it makes some of the stuff a little bit meatier, more exciting. So
Ooh, I'm very excited then. Yeah, I can't wait. I also love it when that happens. Like when you start like writing and you're like, oh, okay, writing things out and it's kind of like happening. Because that's what happened for me with episodes 3 and 4.
hmm
And
yeah, like the floodgates just opened, right? Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is very serendipitous. It worked out.
I'm feeling that way now too. So I'm pretty excited for session 10. It's going to be a good one.
Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait.
Well, check back in soon, everybody, because session 10, by the time you see this, will be coming out shortly.
So excited. Um, all right. Well then, thanks everybody for joining us for Behind the Veil, and we'll see you when we're someone else.
See you when we're someone else.